Hello, everyone. Hello, all you Kentucky Derby fans. Hello, horse racing fans. Hello, fans of feed mills, if that's why you turned in. Welcome. It's Derby week. We're all very excited. We're going to take a tour of hallway feeds. We're going to go inside the office, see some of the special memorabilia that we have up here in the office, and then we're going to take a tour out in the feed mill and check out how we actually make feed, not just for Kentucky Derby horses, but for all horses. Because a horse is a horse, no matter if you spent $1 million on him as a yearling or they gave you a free pony, it's a horse and we need to take care of them the right way. So welcome to Hallway Feeds. We're going to head on inside and check everything out. Glad you're with us. All right, so here we are. This is the little retail space, a nice little entrance that we have for any of our visitors that come see us here at the mill. And I hope after the threat of COVID-19 has passed and we're all free to take the tours and make the visits and go on vacations and visit again as we're used to, that you'll come and see us, because we love showing off our plant. We love educating people about horses, about feed, about nutrition. So we'd love to have you actually come and visit here. It'd be wonderful to see you. So when you come in, though, Miss Julia Hall, Lee's sister, the children of Mr. Bob and Miss Bonnie Hall, who founded Hallway Feeds in 1964, when she decorated, she wanted to tell a story in our office. And so we start here in the vestibule, and you see the history of Hallway Feeds. On the far wall here, we have some of the history of the Hall family. And they have been farmers for many generations. We have some of their farming records from the early 1900s put up on the wall. Mr. Bob's very first 4-H project up on the wall there, Black Betty the hog, back when he was a 9-year-old back in 1939, to some more recent experiences. And then on the far wall, you know, a throwback, the burlap bag that we have over there, which, contrary to popular belief, it hadn't been too long ago since we were using burlap bags. A little before my time, but we still have members of our team here that remember those, hand tying those bags and getting them out. This is not actually our original location. As I said, Mr. Bob and Miss Bonnie founded what's now Hallway Feeds. It was called Farmer's Feed Mill, and that was in 1964. They purchased Farmer's Feed Mill. It was not far from here. It was over on Price Avenue, right here in Lexington. In 1985, they built this location and we started making feed here in February of 1986. So we're going to head on down the hallway a little bit. The team's hard at work. We're going to try not to disturb them too much. Probably making derby picks, if I was to guess. They're probably looking pretty close here, figuring it out. And the best bet, it's going to be a hallway horse, of course. We have Mr. Bob in his office, as I said, the founder of Hallway Feeds. And if you all have been on social media lately, you might have seen the commercial we just released. It was part of the Derby Trainers Dinner, what would have been the Derby Trainers Dinner last night, but it's released on our social media. We did a nice minute long, Mr. Bob talking about who Hallway Feeds is, what we do, making the feed, but also the why we do it. And that's what's really important. So we love to share some of the farm gates that we work with. So these are some of the farms that we work with. You'll recognize some of the names, from Denali Stud, Stone Farm, Claiborne Farm, the Godolphin Farms, all the Darley divisions, Three Chimneys, Hillendale, lots more. And we can't fit everybody on the wall, but we really like to share and promote those that are our customers, and let them know that they are important to us. All of our customers are important to us, and we love having these pictures up to show everybody. Now, what's really neat, on the opposite wall, this one's pretty special. We call it the winner's circle. These farm pictures were the starting gate, because that's where all these horses started, right? They were foaled and raised on these farms, Central Kentucky and beyond, obviously. But this is the winner's circle, and we chose this wall to remember the Kentucky Derby winners that we have fed here at Hallway Feeds. Now, we have fed 13 Kentucky Derby winners, and you're getting an up close look at the finish line photo there that we've gathered through all these years. But in the back, we're going to show you some really special ones. Really excited for Bill Mott. He won the Derby last year with Country House. A well-deserved recognition and victory for Mr. Mott. He's absolutely one of my favorites. Special man, special trainer, great way with horses. So excited for that. And then obviously you guys recognize that Mr. Bob Baffert has more than a couple horses up here on the wall. So very proud and honored to be associated with him and to provide the horse feed and the nutrition to the Bob Baffert stables. Very proud of that. I'll head back down this way a little bit further. If we can make it down the hallway here. This is our multi-purpose room, and you might wonder, why are we going in here to check out where we might eat lunch together or have some meetings? Well, I want you to see this back corner back here. The pictures in general are all wonderful. They're all fun. These are all Tony Leonard pictures. I guess they're all Tony Leonard's except for one, because Tony's actually in the picture. That's Tony Leonard. If you're a fan of horse racing and you don't know who Tony Leonard is, Google him, look up his images, the pictures that he's taken. Basically, Tony Leonard was the man for capturing the thoroughbred industry in pictures. He has since passed, but his work will live on forever, thank goodness. You didn't have a horse unless Tony Leonard called and asked, can I come take a picture, or can I get pictures of your horse? Because he was just the absolute best. And so all these are Tony Leonard's. They're a wonderful collection. Some of the celebrities that have come and been involved with horse racing are hanging back here, from John Wayne, Harry Miller, TV's original Tarzan there. You've got Ronald Reagan back before he was president. We've got Candace Bergen, just lots of people. Muhammad Ali, Louisville's own there, right? Lots of people. The Queen and her ties to Lane's End Farm, and she's absolutely a horse lover, horse enthusiast. Gosh, I'm assuming she's still riding to this day. But she's come to Kentucky several times and will typically stay at Lane's End Farm. So love having these Tony Leonard pictures and sharing them. So fun to have all of them. But the thing I really love to point out back here in this room is this corner over here. So we have 5 halters back here. Very proud of these particular halters. So we have American Pharoah, we have Orb, Fusaichi Pegasus, Justify, and Animal Kingdom. Obviously, those are all Kentucky Derby winners. 2 of those, American Pharoah and Justify, are also Triple Crown winners. So why did we pick out these 5 instead of all 13 Kentucky Derby winners? Well, Justify because he is a Triple Crown winner. And we are very proud of the fact that we have been able to feed 2 Triple Crown winners. But the other 4, American Pharoah, Orb, Fusaichi Pegasus, and Animal Kingdom, are hanging on the wall because those 4 horses were in utero, foaled, and raised and raced on hallway feeds. So we are extremely proud of those connections. We are honored that the farms that have raised these magnificent animals, these magnificent racehorses, choose to do business with hallway feeds. Because let's face it, these folks, all of these farms could do business with anybody that they want, and they trust us. They trust hallway feeds to do it right. So very proud of this corner. Absolutely love showing those off to everybody that comes and visits here. And again, some more of the Tony Leonards that we're fortunate to have from his collection. These were part of the display that was at the Healy Whitney Museum for a while, and we're fortunate to get to take care of them here for a little bit. So love sharing those with folks as well. Okay, so we're actually going to head back up the hallway, and we're going to head out in the mill. Just everywhere you look in the offices, what Julia's done, it's a lot of fun. I mean, these are postcards from early 1900s, Central Kentucky images, icons, and depending on which room you look in, we'll have some racetrack images or some very Kentucky-specific marketing. So very proud to be here, be part of Kentucky, be part of the industry, and we love to show that off every chance we get. Going back to these office doors. Well, these office doors are stall doors. They're from Clovelly Farm. So everything we do ties back to the horse. Proud to share that. Here's a here's a fun one for you. If you can get just that quilt from here, that quilt there in the corner, this is actually made from feed sacks, flour sacks. So this is something that started during the Great Depression. It started in Kansas, but it spread out from there for sure. A Kansas flour mill operator realized that housewives were making clothes out of the flour sacks after they were empty. So instead of, making a permanent logo and having kids running around with his name on them, he actually started making the flour sacks with colorful patterns so that the housewives can make clothes for their children that were colorful and fun. Very altruistic. I think that was a wonderful, wonderful thing that man started, and it spread out across the country. Julia, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't it turn into feed mills would actually put dress, what was it? Not the stencils, but the patterns on feed sacks. Wasn't that something that also happened?
That's new on me. I know that.
I'm pretty sure there were patterns that were put on.
I should know that, but it would make perfect sense. They would do that.
Yeah.
Or include one inside the bag.
Absolutely.
So.
We haven't gone that route yet.
No, we haven't, but stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
It could happen.
Any day. So, all right. Well, we're going to head back out. That's okay. All right. We'll try not to disturb the ladies at work here. These ladies do some very important business. They make all the phone calls. They call all of our customers. They handle every load, every bag of feed that leaves Hallway Feeds. Their fingertips have made it happen. They talk to all of our customers, whether they're here in Lexington, whether they're in Florida or California or around the world. So very proud of the work they do, and they make our lives much easier. So can't say it enough how much we appreciate these ladies. All right. Well, don't forget to check out. We're going to head out to the mill now, but while we're here, don't forget to check out. We've got a little online store. You can get there from our website, and we're selling some hallway gear and actually some meat rub, but better get this one before it's too late. Better late than never, Derby 2020. So we're excited that the Derby is finally here. It's finally happening. All right. So before we look in at all the fun stuff, we're actually going to look out here in the parking lot. So you see there's a raised platform out here. Now, why is that important? Well, that is actually a truck scale. All of our ingredients that come into Hallway Feeds have to roll across that scale. So when that truck driver comes in, he parks on that scale and he has to come into the office and he has to fill out some paperwork. What kind of paperwork? Well, he's bringing paperwork with him. Well, the paperwork he brings is what are you hauling and a complete nutritional analysis of the ingredient that he's bringing with him. That's very important. But what he fills out for us includes who are you, how do we get a hold of you, who are you hauling for, how do we get a hold of them, and then also what are you hauling, how did you clean your truck out last, what was your last ingredient, where did you pick it up, where did you drop it off. We don't allow any ingredients to come into Hallway Feeds unless the truck was washed out before it got here. And then also prior to that, the trucks had to have cannot have hauled anything harmful to a horse before it got here. We actually have a molasses tanker rolling up right here. So this comes from Double S up in Danville, Illinois. Went and toured their plant recently, and we'll share a video on that later on. So that's how our molasses arrives, about 4 or 5 times a week. There is questions? Oh yeah, this is live, folks. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. There's a little delay in the broadcast, but I have people here that'll translate the question to me, and I'll answer it for you. So the truck drivers have to fill out a lot of paperwork, quality control. But it even starts before they arrive here. We have really multi-decade relationships with all of our suppliers. We have one supplier for every ingredient, and they know exactly what we expect. The quality, the nutritional analysis, the cleanliness of the trucks. Everything we do here is about the horse. It's all about the horse. This is a drug-free, medication-free, antibiotic-free, worry-free facility. We want to make sure that everything we do for the horse is safe as possible. So that starts before it gets here. All of our corn that we use comes from one farmer in Indiana. We can take you and show you the field that he's bringing the corn to us from. All the oats from one supplier out in the West. All the alfalfa from one supplier up in Ohio. So every ingredient we handle like that for the absolute best in quality control. None of it goes through an elevator. None of it's being mixed up with other farmers' ingredients or commodities. It's the best thing we can do. Does it cost us more? It does. Is it the best thing for the horse? It is. So that's how we choose it. So after the ingredients arrive, well, then we have to actually get them into our facility. So we're going to show you the production office. We've got a screen up in here that we'll run through. We can't go into the office right now, but we have a screen up so that you can actually see what they're doing. So it looks like we got a question here, maybe.
Are most of your ingredients from local farms?
So the question is, are most of your ingredients from local farms? So if local is Central Kentucky, then no, most of the ingredients are not from Central Kentucky. We make sure we buy as much made in the USA as possible, though. Like I said, all the corn, one farm in Indiana, all the alfalfa, one place in Ohio. So it's examples like that. Even our bags, made in the USA. We could buy less expensive bags that come on a slow boat from overseas somewhere. But why? We have bag manufacturers right here at home in the USA. So all our bags come out of North Carolina. So we keep it as close to home as possible, but we also have to have large enough suppliers to take care of us. So a good example of that is, of all the corn raised in Kentucky, there's 3 counties in Iowa that raise more corn than that. So you do have to go a little further than right here at home to get all of your supplies. Can you run through the screen for us, Jared? We're going to get over here as close as we can. Jared's our director of technology and innovation, and he's going to help us run through the screen up on the wall over here. So we're gonna run it around and start with a receiving screen. So if you look at the screen, I hope we can see it there. Can you? Oh, perfect. So we have a little truck over on the left-hand side. That's a semi-truck, and that's where this is obviously just a representation of the feed mill. So that truck pulls up on the other side of the mill, the exact opposite side where the scale was, and he pulls over a pit. Well, once we've approved all the paperwork, it's clean, nutritional analysis, everything on the front side, they come back and our production and receiving team takes care of it from here. He pulls over a pit, the pit's opened up, and they bring it back in, they bring that ingredient into the mill. So then it is raised up to the highest point of the mill. So if you see that green leg there, that green vertical line, I'm going to sneak my hand in here, whoop, right there, that green vertical line, that's what we call a leg. And that receives the ingredient, it takes it up to a very high point in the mill, and then drops it into a distributor. And so that is a distributor. These round UFO looking pieces are distributors, and they're going to turn and drop it down into a bin. So the truck pulls in, he opens, the ingredient is pulled inside, it's taken up, dropped into a distributor, and goes to its final storage bin. So outside of the feed mill, if you've ever driven past our location on Loudon, you'll see some really large bins out there, and they're holding a lot of ingredients. But then right above us that mix into every batch are the ingredients we use for every single bag of feed. So that could be beet pulp, oats, corn, versions of wheat, alfalfa meal, some soybean meal, soy hulls. So it just depends on what it is, on how we'll use it. So once they receive the ingredient and they spread it out, well, then it's time to actually mix them together. So from inside here, we're completely automated. So this is about a 4-year system. It's been in for about 4 years now. Before there were knobs and buttons we had to push to mix everything, which in 1985, it was absolutely state of the art. Well, guess what? Technology has shifted a little bit over 30 some years. So now we're completely automated. Our team there, Corey and Jared, were able to put all this in and work with the teams that developed it. And one of the reasons we waited so long to completely automate is we needed enough safety checks. We needed the software to double and triple check everything. And we wanted to completely modify the software to match our feed mill. We wanted it to look, act, and feel exactly like our feed mill. We didn't want to just fit into just a general program and have to understand how it worked. this is exactly what our feed mill looks like and works like. So they gather all the ingredients, and it's sort of like baking a cake. We take the macro ingredients, corn, oats, barley, some wheat, soybean meal, those the ingredients we use a lot of for every batch, and they come into a large hopper. So this blue hopper right here, it's where all the macro ingredients come from. And then the micro ingredients, so anything where we need to add just a few ounces or pounds per ton, that comes from our micro bins. And so those micro bins are just right over here. So we have some bigger tote bags, and so we might be pulling 50 or 100 pounds out of those for a batch. But then the stainless steel bins would actually be, maybe it's a few ounces or pounds.
Yeah, 2 questions.
2 questions, okay.
Somebody wants to know, do you take care that your ingredients are not non-GMO?
Okay, so we do offer a non-GMO product. For people that want to go that route, we offer a non-GMO and a non-soy ration balancer. And then from there, you can build a non-GMO diet if you prefer. That is not what the equine industry as a whole is not going that route, but there are individuals that want that, and so we offer products for that.
Somebody wants to know, is this hallway feed?
Is this hallway feeds? Yes, this is hallway feeds. That's where we are. So those micro bins that I was pointing out, that would be if we have to add a little extra vitamin A or D or E or maybe some extra selenium. It depends on what we're making. Is it a feed for weanlings? Is it a feed for yearlings? Is it a feed for 2-year-olds in training? Is it for brood mares? Is it for a lactating mare? Is it for a gestating mare? Is it for a stallion? Is it for a stallion during the breeding season or the resting season? Is it for a reiner or a cutter or a hunter or a jumper? Or is it for dressage? Or it goes on, right? There's so much more. So depending on the feed we're making, we mix the macro ingredients with some of the micro ingredients. All that mixes below the floor. We have a 4-ton mixer below the floor. So we try, if at all possible, to make everything in 4-ton batches. So a 4-ton batch, everything's in 50-pound bags, and a 4-ton batch would be 160 bags of feed. So when I first started here 18 years ago, hard to believe. I know I don't look a day over 25. Don't show them the gray in the beard, William. When I started here, we were still bagging feed by hand. And you had a stack of bags next to you, and there was a little thumb hole, a little half moon cut in the bags, and you'd pick a bag up, and you'd put it on the spout where all the feed was above you, and you'd press a foot pedal, and that would capture the bag, and it would drop 50 pounds in. Well, when the weight was right, it would drop the bag. You'd grab the sides, kind of like this, with 3 fingers. You'd pull that top shut, grab a tag, and run it through a sewing machine, and then 1 or 2 people on the other end of the line would physically stack it. We were all very much in shape back then. Another question.
How does the feed change for stallions during breeding season versus off season?
Right. So if you're going to feed a stallion for the breeding season, we actually need to start 60 to 90 days prior to breeding season, and there are some nutritional factors we can put in there. It's not about necessarily the energy source, so we'll still use some starch sources, we'll still use soluble fibers, we'll still use some oils for fat, but it's more about, okay, what kind of fat are we going to use? So we put in a denatured fish oil. It's actually from a company called Kentucky Equine Research that we work with. We partner with to do a lot of research to back up all of our diets and rations. And that's just one example. That denatured fish oil, it has the best blend of omega fatty acids that we could offer. And also it's the DHA that's in there that really supports a breeding stallion. It's very specific for the stallions, very specific to helping a breeding stallion. It really helps with the 3 M's, motility, morbidity, and morbidity. There's another M there that I'm missing for the health of the semen. It's also good for brood mares, and that's a whole other conversation. I'm going to come up with that 3rd M before we're done. No. So we were bagging by hand. So when I started, if we ever made 100 tons of feed in a day, Mr. Bob bought lunch for everybody here the next day. About 15 years ago, we put in our first automated packaging line. Then the bets were off. It wasn't 100 tons a day anymore. Then it was, then we could get up to 120 tons a day possibly. Well, we put in this line. Jared, how long's this line been in now? 1 year? Wow, 1 year. And we've had days where we hit 250 tons, right? So we've really changed and grown in 18 years. I'd like to say it's because Morgan and I are such great salespeople. I think it really has to be the sales team. Yeah, Morgan agrees. Since we agree, you know it's an absolute fact. And anybody that knows us knows that's the truth. So now we're going to show you what's changed. Oh, we got a question.
What are the ingredients in sweet feed?
What are the ingredients in sweet feed? Okay, so first of all, we try not to use the term sweet feed anymore. So sweet feed goes back to when a lot of molasses was used. And the reason molasses was used so heavily was to make ingredients stick together. So feed mills didn't have a way to make vitamins and minerals stick together so that a horse couldn't sort them out. They were loose and in a powder. Well, what's a horse want to eat? A yummy oat, a piece of corn, some alfalfa, or ground up limestone, calcium, vitamins, things like that. Nobody wants to eat that. So they would use molasses to make all that stick together and the horse couldn't skip out on the nutrition. So today we refer to those as textured feeds. Isn't that a much prettier name? So we make textured feeds. So what are the ingredients? So a very basic textured feed for a brood mare or a young growing horse might be oats, corn, a protein, vitamin, and mineral pellet, and then a little molasses on top of it, just so every single bag tastes exactly the same. You get more complicated from there. Do we need soluble fiber? Will we have beet pulp or soy hulls? Will we add some soy oil as a fat source to clean up the coat, to add some calories? So it changes from there, but that'd be a basic textured feed. So right now, I told you about bagging by hand. Well, now we have moved to a completely automated, not just in receiving ingredients, to mixing the feeds, but this is our newest bagging packaging line. It's been here about a year, and we've got 4 robots now that handle the bags, that fill the bags, that move the bags, that sew the bags together, that apply a tag where necessary, and then all the way down to the palletizing. And so we call our 2 bigger robots that we'll get to. We thought maybe Bob and Bonnie, after the founders of Hallway Feeds. But Jeff, our general manager, said, you know what? If something ever goes wrong, I don't want to be out there and get mad at Bob and Bonnie. It just wouldn't feel right. So we decided to go with Bonnie and Claude. We thought maybe that was a little more appropriate. And then we have 2 smaller robots that handle the feed and handle the bags and run it through.
How many people work here?
How many people work here? About half of them. About half. It's one of my dad's favorite jokes. He would always say that when he gave tours of the farm that he managed. Dad was the manager at Claiborne Farm for 32 years. And whenever he gave tours and somebody had asked, how many people work here? Oh, about half of them. Might have been referring to us kids, I'm not sure. Now we have, I think we're at 33 employees, 34, well, we added one this week. 34 employees top to bottom. So that's our production crew. That's our out here bagging, palletizing, moving the feed. That's our sales team. That is our truck drivers and regional sales folks, accounting, the whole staff. So about 34 people. So the feed we're making right now is actually, this is very exciting. It is a senior feed. So this is designed for older horses. It is called Distinguished. And if you can see the bag, we will in a minute. It has actually a silver color to it. That's a mark of Distinguished. It's silver. I don't know if I should be honored or my feelings were hurt. When we were designing the bag, Morgan held up the color charts to the gray in my beard to pick out the right silver. So I don't know if she was calling me old or distinguished. I'm going with Distinguished. That's just the way I'm going to go with it. So we've got a slight pause in production. That's what happens when you're on a live tour.
Okay, 2 questions.
2 questions, okay?
I'm going to ask one first. How many people worked there before the automation and robots?
Less people. So how many people worked here before the automation and robots? We hadn't hit 30 yet. We were probably 28, maybe less than that before the very first automation. Our production line, our automation, has actually enabled us to make employee lives better and to grow the business more. So what do I mean make lives better? So when we think about the guys that used to stand and hang the feed bags, they now load empty bags on a line and they run a laptop to tell the machine what to make. Now think about the guys that stack 50-pound bags of feed all day long. Now they drive forklifts. So we've made lives better.
We had 8 in production then, now we have 4.
We have changed where they're located. It used to take 8 people in production. Now we have 4. We've added more truck drivers. We've added more salespeople. So we've added just a different level of where they are and what they do, but definitely have made lives better. So it used to be some of our maintenance team. If they needed to fix something, they had a grease gun, they had a hammer, and if the hammer didn't work, they had a bigger hammer. But now, if we need to troubleshoot or look at anything, we're going to come out with a laptop and plug it in. So we've changed the experience. We've changed what it means to be a feed mill. So the idea of walking into a dark, dusty, cobweb, dirty place, that's not where you should go to buy horse feed. We'll see some more of the mill as we walk through here. Another question.
Some feeds seem to encourage choking. How do you try to prevent that with your feeds?
Okay, so no feed will be designed to encourage choking. That's going to be more of a case-by-case issue, okay? So there might be a product that you individually have a problem with a horse that literally chokes on the feed, and we might have thousands of other horses that eat it without trouble. So a lot of times that's going to be an individual issue in finding the right product. So when we get back into our warehouse, we're going to open up a textured feed, specifically one that horses in the Derby will be eating. We'll open up a small pellet and a larger one, and we'll talk about how those are used and what they do. All right, so we're running the feed again. This feed actually has a tag on the bag, so a tag's not applied. But where we used to actually print the tags and have to stick them on manually, we would do it automated by the machine at this point. So there it is. There's a bag of Distinguished coming out the line there. Are you wrapping up that lot? So what he's doing, he's pulling feed off the line because it was the end of a lot. And so we always do a little QC check to make sure the first bags, they won't go through because we're going to look at them, check it out. And then the last bags, we're going to watch really close to make sure we don't send anything out that's not the highest quality. So now he's pulling all those bags off the line as he gets ready to start the next batch of feed. So unfortunately, what that means is that he's going to have a few minutes here in between. You know what you're making next, Jared? Prep 14. So he's going from Distinguished to Senior feed, and he's going to move into our most popular sales prep feed. It's also great for putting weight on any horse. Depending on the issue, it might be also a good hospital blend if you've been laid up. We have a better one for that, but it's good. But Prep 14, we've had a Derby winner run on that feed as well. So this is one of the robots, Bonnie or Claude. I don't guess we've ever decided which one's which, but that's one of them. And we'll come back, we'll see them in operation when they're not switching batches.
Do we make custom feeds for a specific horse farm if it needs something special?
Absolutely. So the question was, do we make custom mixes? We absolutely do. So again, I said our mixer holds 4 tons. So we have to be able to handle about 3 tons minimum to make a good custom mix. And that's just so that the mixer can actually mix the ingredients well. So if you're able to use 120 bags of feed in a very timely manner, I don't want that sitting around for 6 months. We want textured feeds to be used within 90 days. We want pelleted products. They're good for 6 months. But here in Central Kentucky, I want them gone within about 10 days if we can help it. So yes, definitely we do custom feeds. Some farms will work with us and say, look, we really believe in a new study, and it's all about this copper level and what can we do to work on that. Some farms, we're going to try a buffered mineral complex and do that because it works as a buffer in the stomach, works as a hindgut buffer, and increases the bone density. So, I mean, there's lots of different things we could do. Does he need to load pallets? Okay. So these are some of the feeds. Actually, we can see the pelleted robot running over here on the other side. It runs a little slower. It's always more fun to show the one on the textured line because the pelleted line just runs just a little bit slower than the textured line will. But it grabs the bag, spins over, drops it on the pallet. So what happens, every 5th bag, it's going to start a new layer. And when it grabs the bag, it'll pause, And that's when there's a little black box that takes a picture of the height of the pallet. So different feeds have different densities. So instead of having a different program for each feed, because they're stacked higher and lower on the pallet due to their density, the camera just takes a picture and it measures the height, and then it can start stacking the next layer. So it does that, and there's no switching of programs. It does it very quickly. So we've got some, maybe you can get it from back here, William. We like, for any of the visitors that come, we like to show off some of the bigger races, the winners that we fed. So we've got a row of the Derby winners up here with those 13. Our Preakness winners, 11 of those. And the Belmont winners back there, 9 of them. Breeders' Cup Classic winners, and then also Kentucky Oaks. Those are the ones we display here in this room. We have fed, so if you're familiar with horse racing, we have fed the winner of every grade 1 race in North America at some point in its history. So I'm not saying we did it in this year, but at some point in that grade 1 race's history, we have fed the winner of that race. Do you have a question?
Does the feed actually go off if not used within a certain period of time? I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, does it go bad? So there is definitely a shelf life. It is a perishable product. It's not like something you're buying at the grocery store necessarily that's going to go bad super fast. But yes, it could go bad if it sits around too long. Summer, so hot, humid times, that can be difficult for horse feeds. We ship a lot of feed to Hong Kong. They actually keep it in cold storage in Hong Kong, waiting for it to be used. So there's different ways to handle it. We want to keep rodents out of it. You want to keep it dry. So this time of year, you don't want to stack it up against a concrete wall in your barn. Concrete walls have a tendency to sweat. So if the bags get wet, it could eventually make it into the feed. If it's wet and it's hot out, we could run into mold issues. So we need to be very careful about that. So we have lots of different feeds. We'll open up some, you know what, we're here now. So I'm just going to go ahead and pull out some Race 13. This is the #1 racing product that we offer. This is feeding, whoa, that came off quick. Here we go. So this is feeding, gosh, I'd have to pull the list out of my pocket. We're attached to 12 different horses in this year's Kentucky Derby. I think we have 8 horses that are running on this feed right here. So I'm going to show you the different ingredients that are in this feed. All right. So you got oats, right? Pull out a piece of corn there. Okay. Got a little bigger piece of beet pulp right there. And then that pellet. Now this looks very simple. I know that looks simple. It looks like there's 4 ingredients in there: oats, corn, beet pulp, and a pellet. But that pellet carries all the nutrition. That's all the proteins, vitamins, and minerals that are in the feed. And then what you can't really see, you might on my fingertips a little, that discoloration on my fingertips, that's the oil and the molasses that covers that up. So this is a very balanced diet for a racehorse, for a performance horse, not just a racehorse, but a performance horse. Maybe it's a barrel horse. Maybe it's a standardbred pulling the sulkies at the harness track. So an absolute performance horse that needs the rocket fuel to go, that's what you're feeding right there. All right, we're gonna keep on moving back through the mill here, and I have a mess to clean up later, but that's okay. Love the smell of the textured feeds. Just a fun little fact to point out here. If you see this split in the concrete, that is actually where the original feed mill that they built here in 1985, that's where it ended. This was the back door. They tell a great story about Jeff, Mr. Bob, and Lee have a great story. Then when they built the original mill, they pulled in a load of blocks. A block could be a salt block. It'd be very dense. So it'd be 50 pounds, but it's only this big. So it didn't take up very much room. They put a whole semi-load of blocks over here. And Mr. Bob looked at Jeff and says, I don't know if we'll ever fill this place up. Well, now just our production fills up the entire original mill. All right, we gotta watch it. We got a lot of forklifts coming through. We're gonna let Willie go past us here. Willie's from Bourbon County. I don't know if we can trust Willie. And I'm allowed to make fun of him being from Bourbon County because I am too. All right. Now we're in the warehouse. Oh, he wants me to go on this side so we can stay out of the way of the forklifts running back and forth. So now we're in the warehouse. So if you've not been in our feed mill before, you might look around and go, wow, that's a lot of feed that's back there. This makes me nervous. This is not much feed back here at all. We're very much just-in-time inventory. It's a perishable product. We want to keep it here for as short a time period as possible. So let's talk about distribution and why there's just this little bit of feed back here. We have 5 delivery trucks that every morning they have a stack of tickets that's already laid out so that they can drive in as straight a line as possible away from here, dropping off to the farms and then come back empty. So their tickets are ready. So in the morning they come and the drivers load their trucks. So they take the feed off of these larger pallets, they stack it onto mini pallets, 10 bags high, and they take those, they go out driving and they'll deliver those into the farms. So they'll take out 10 to 12 tons each per day. So that's 5 trucks. Then we have 2 trucks that actually have a forklift on the back. And they take out full pallets of feed, just like you see them here. And they can hold 10 tons at a time. And so those guys are able to take out, could be 30 to 40 tons per day, depending on the day. So that's what we're delivering. And those guys are going within about 70 miles of here. And that's our local distribution. So we're going to farms, we're going to some smaller feed stores that carry our products, those end users. Now, why did I say this doesn't look like much feed? Well, because that's just our truck drivers and our delivery. We also load semis back here every day that maybe they're going to Tryon in North Carolina. Maybe they're heading to Chicago. Maybe they're going to New York or out on Long Island in New York, or any of the major racing venues where we have horse feed, or the major sport horse venues where we have feed. And so it just depends on the day. It could be 7 semi-loads that head out, or 2 or 3. I think our record month might have been somewhere in the 80s. I want to say like 84, somewhere pushing 90 semi-loads, plus all of our trucks, and then international distribution. So we're delivering locally ourselves within about 70 miles of here. We have distribution to every major racetrack and every major racing venue, every major sport horse venue around the United States. And then internationally, we ship feed to about 16 countries. Just got off a call this morning before we started the tour about an exciting prospect, some new countries in the Middle East, and then manufacturing partnerships in 5 countries. I'm going to come back to that. We got a question.
How can a person order if there is not a supplier in their state?
Wonderful question.
Perfect time.
So if you want to order our feed and there's not a supplier in your state, the first thing, go to our website. There's a find button at the top. You put in your zip code and it's going to say your closest dealer is in this location. So if there's not one close to you, it depends on what we're talking about. If we're talking about a farm that's going to need pallets of feed, give us a call. That's what we do. We ship it out, 1 bag, 40 bags, a semi-load, 21 tons at a time. Or if you're an individual, you have 1 or 2 horses and you need a professional product, we want to do the right thing by the horse. We want to get the most out of them. We want to do the best for them. We also sell on Chewy.com. Chewy.com moves a significant amount of feed 1 bag at a time, and we're very excited about that. Another question.
What brands do you manufacture?
We manufacture our brand. The question was, what brands do you manufacture? We manufacture Hallway feeds. You can see it on the end of every bag in here, our round logo with the H on it. That's us. That's who we are, Hallway Feeds. We will do some manufacturing for some other feed stores around the country. We do that for several because equine only, drug-free, antibiotic-free, medication-free, worry-free. Feed mills that want us to make their feed are serious about getting the best for their horse. For us, there is no other way to do it. We could make use of, we're 1 shift. We work Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And we could open up and run 2 more shifts and pump a whole lot more feed through here. But that's not the best thing to do for the horse. This is all about making the safest, highest quality feed for the horse. So back to the question of where it goes. We distribute to 16 countries, and then we have manufacturing partnerships in 5 countries. So those countries are the UK, Ireland, New Zealand, South Africa, and India. And those locations don't take feed direct from here, not a finished product. They actually bring over a the vitamin and mineral pack. If you're from Kentucky or you know about our Colonel here, we ship the secret herbs and spices, right? The Colonel's famous recipe, and they actually blend the energy sources at their location. So in the UK, for instance, we're teamed up with Saracen Horse Feeds. We've been with them for about 20 years now, and it's a wonderful partnership. If you're in the United States and you're on some of our racing or performance products, whether you're a sport horse or racehorse, and you're going to compete in the UK, you're going to Royal Ascot, Saracen can bring you Saracen Race 13 over there. So there's a lot of products that that are on both sides of the pond, thank goodness, in those 5 locations actually. So again, got to step way back here a few minutes. Why is there not much feed here? Because we only make it 24 to 48 hours before it leaves. It's just-in-time inventory. That's done very intentionally. Again, we're watching that shelf life. We're watching our inventory levels. We like it to move fast. Today's Wednesday, so all of our truck drivers delivering feed today will go back to these exact same farms next Wednesday. So if we made that feed Monday or Tuesday, it's delivered Wednesday. By next Wednesday, it's not just here. It's not just not in the feed room at the farm. It's already been fed to the horse, passed through, and it's out on the field, what's left over. So within about 10 days, anything local doesn't even exist anymore. Very proud of that. Very quick turnover. Freshest products you can buy, all-way feeds. You can definitely tell some of the items that are meant for the retail market. We go very shiny, very pretty, very descriptive, lots of information on the bags. I have 2 feeds I need to show you. I need to get a bag of a small pellet. We're going to grab some Stam 30 and then a larger pellet to show to you. Another question.
Hello from New Jersey.
Hello, Jersey.
How is your feed different for thoroughbreds versus others, if at all?
Wow, so a horse is a horse. Okay, let's start there. There's certain things that are the same. They all have the same digestive tract, right? Mouth, esophagus, stomach. Then you get in the intestines, the functional cecum. That's what we're talking about with the horse. So there are some pieces that are going to be the same. As far as how it's different for thoroughbreds and other breeds, it depends on the age, the reproductive status, what you're doing with the horse. So we described textured feeds earlier. It might just be corn, oats, protein, vitamin, mineral, a little molasses. But if we're feeding a top-level hunter, they might want something very calm, cool, quieting. So we might go to fiber energy. No grain in it whatsoever. A lot of beet pulp. We put chaff in there, timothy and alfalfa hay. And then we have all the vitamins and minerals, oil on top. So that's a very drastic change from basically all grain to completely no grain. But that's not the difference between a thoroughbred and another breed. It's more about what are you doing with the horse? What do we need to accomplish? Are they an easy keeper or are they a hard keeper? Is there a metabolic issue? So there's lots of questions we need to ask, and breed is one of those questions. All right, so we looked at the Race 13 earlier. We grabbed a couple products off of the pallets here. So this is a small pellet. So I'm glad we grabbed Stam 30 because this is actually the exact same pellet that you saw inside Race 13. This is all the nutrition. This is the proteins, the vitamins, and minerals that it was inside Race 13. So that's the foundation of the nutritional program. So when you put oats, corn, beet pulp, soy oil pellets, all those other things, the oil on top of there, that's how you build out the whole ration. This is the hub of the wheel. This is the core nutrition that goes into the feed. We opened up Super Stamina Oats here. This is definitely a broodmare product or a young growing horse product. So this is what we refer to as a cube. You can see it's a lot bigger than those pellets, right? And so it's still a pelleted feed, but we call it a cube just so we can very quickly tell the difference between them. It's about a 1/2 inch in diameter, about 1 inch long. And it has all the same ingredients that a textured feed might have, but we've done it in a cube. We've just processed it a little differently. So there was a question earlier about choke. So we're not, and again, that's horse specific and which one do they take to. Cubed products, that large pellet, horses have to slow down to eat that. They can't just gobble it up real quick like a small pellet or a textured feed. So if you have a horse that might be prone to choke, this might be a great place to start. Let's get something they have to slow down to eat. You can also throw a little bitty salt brick into the tub and they have to eat around it. That'll slow them down as well. Anything you can do to slow down how fast they consume meal is going to help ward off a choke issue. Do you have a question before I go on? Okay.
Does Hallway Feeds participate in thoroughbred racing ownership? If so, any horses running at Churchill this week?
Well, so we actually, we got, I don't know if I want to say the bandwagon, but we have lots of employees here that own horses. Some of those are former race horses. We actually, as a group, bought a percentage of Authentic. Now, before you get too excited, you have to realize myracehorse.com, go check it out. This is an awesome fractional ownership opportunity. But we bought some shares of Authentic. So we're very excited because Authentic is trained by Bob Baffert. That means he's eating Hallway Feeds. He is a favorite, maybe not the favorite, but definitely one of the favorites in the Derby. And he's going to retire to a farm that uses Hallway Feeds. So we're very proud of that connection. So a very timely question. The employees here, while we have several that we're feeding in the Derby, the fact that we were able to get into the ownership there in this way was a lot of fun. Back to the feed forms, textured feed, pelleted products, cubed products. Why would we choose one? So let's just look at a broodmare farm in central Kentucky. Most of them have moved away from textured products and onto cubes. We can make the exact same feed in either form, but there's some benefits to the cube. It won't freeze in the wintertime. It remains just as soft and easy to scoop now as it will in January. It doesn't draw the bugs or rodents like a textured feed, those wonderful smells and tastes that are on it. We can actually make it a little less expensive. We can buy the exact same nutritional quality ingredients, and we can actually make a more economical package out of it. It's more efficient for the horse to eat. They have to chew it. It creates more surface area. All that bacteria, all the microbes, they're able to work better and digest the feed better out of a pelleted product than a textured feed. If you're feeding outside, if they drop a pellet on the ground, you know, horses, they'll take a bite, they stand up, they look around, and it's like feeding a toddler. It's everywhere. So they can actually pick a pellet back up without getting rocks or gravel or sand or dust or dirt in their mouth. They can, the horse's lip is very sophisticated in that they can pick that back up without getting anything else if they don't want it. So a lot of great benefits. Now, I said all that, so why would we choose another one? If horses are going to be moved around, so if somebody in Indiana owns a broodmare, they send it to Kentucky to be foaled and bred, you might need a textured product because they'd be more familiar with that. So they're going to eat it better. They might switch, you know, from that farm to your farm a little better. So there's different reasons. If you have an issue that requires a supplement, which we're very serious about putting everything you need in the bag, but sometimes there are specific issues that take a top dress supplement. That doesn't mix very well onto a pellet, so you might have to do that on a textured product because that's going to stick to it again. Remember, we talked about the molasses. So there's different reasons to do each one for sure. So we're getting towards the back here. We're getting out towards the end of the tour. So if you got any questions, it'd be a great time to get those last questions in. Not only are we getting to the end of the mill, we're starting to run out of cable that runs to our camera that we've hooked up. And so that'll for sure make sure we've hit the end. Out the back, you can't tell much. We do have a lower warehouse. We have a storage room back here that is just for basically one co-op that we take care of over in Virginia. We make all their horse feed for them, Culpeper Farmers Cooperative. Love having those guys on the team, making all their worry-free horse feed for them. We got a question?
How do you know how much to feed?
How do you know how much to feed? That's when you call us. That's when we have that conversation with you, and we're going to talk about all those things. How old? What breed? What are you doing? Are there any problems? Forage situation. I know we've just spent an hour talking about horse feed. The most important part of a horse's diet, forage. So we're talking about the hay, the pasture, all of that. That's what they body is completely designed to be fed by. So why do we feed a concentrate? Because we don't let them roam free over thousands and thousands and thousands of acres, and we ask them to do a lot more than we've ever asked before. A racehorse can't compete and run a 2-minute derby just on hay, just on forage. So we provide other energy sources, and we balance the nutrition because they're in a stall for hours a day. You know, they're going to get out and get a little grazing time. They're going to get some walks, but for a large portion of the day, they need to feed to balance that nutrition. So how much to feed, it depends on the horse, easy keeper, hard keeper, what you're doing, and then what product. So a senior product like Distinguished, This was all bagged this morning. In fact, we saw them at the end of it. This is designed to be fed as low as 4 pounds per day because we've concentrated the vitamins and minerals to a level where if you feed 4 pounds, a mature horse, a 1,200-pound horse, would get all the nutrition they need. But if you have a horse that needs more to keep the weight on, it's okay to feed more. That's just the bare minimum. So we talked about STAM 30. Well, this is the nutrients inside the feeds. So as a standalone product, I always tell people this is a Flintstone vitamin. This is just the nutrition. This is not a steak dinner. This is just like feeding Flintstone vitamins or Centrum Silver. We only feed 1 to 2 pounds per day, depending on the individual. A good rule of thumb on broodmare farms in central Kentucky is that a horse will go through 1 bag of feed per week. They're going to eat about 8 pounds per day. It changes depending on the season. If it's the grass is all coming on, you know, by the time the Derby hits in May, typically, the grass is coming on, it's green, it's lush, it's beautiful. Some of the early foaling mares, their milk production is decreasing. The baby's starting to eat some on its own. So they're not gonna eat as much feed per day maybe. Or if you had a mare that foaled in January or February, there's no grass out there in the field, it snowed, they need a lot of calories. They could be eating 8 or 10 pounds per day or sometimes even more of textured feed or a cube like that. Good question though. Again, all this, it's a conversation we need to have with that end user. All right, so as we walk back up through the mill here, I'm gonna share a little information for you. I pulled out a little cheat sheet here. So we're talking about the Derby. That's why we're doing this, right? It's Derby week. Oh, we got a question?
Can you tell them how to get to the merchandise?
Oh, how to get to the merchandise section of the website. Hallwayfeeds.com. Go to hallwayfeeds.com. At the top, there's buttons. Products, find, who we are, about us, that sort of thing. And there's one that says merch or merchandise. You click on merchandise, it's going to take you to our online store account. You can buy t-shirts, you can buy hats. Meat Rub, great story behind Meat Rub. I'm not going to bore you with it unless somebody asks. So if you ask, you're going to hear it. What else we have in there? We got the neck gaiters. We got a few of those left. Not many. They were popular. Down to our last few Derby shirts. Oh, man. Granola 2020. We're going to have granola in there soon. That's a big deal. And if you don't know, you need to ask somebody because the granola is a big deal. It's going to be awesome. So, again, the merchandise, hallwayfeeds.com. Right across the top, there's a button that says merch. So who are we feeding in the Derby? I got out my cheat sheet. Raised. These are young horses, raised on Hallway Feeds. Finnick the Fierce out of the 1 hole. Storm the Court out of the 4. South Bend in the 8. Mr. Big News in the 9. Sola Volante out of the 12. Winning Impression coming out of the 14. Oh, somebody asked about Meat Rub. I get to tell the story. All right, so let me finish the Derby horses though. Enforceable, these are the horses running on our feed on Saturday. Enforceable, Storm the Court, 1,000 Words, Necker Island, New York NY Traffic. I guess technically they have to say NY, that's the name. New York Traffic, Honor AP, and Authentic. So very excited for all these horses, very excited for all the connections, the raised on, the racing on. Sorry, a forklift driver was asking if he could go back that way, so we're not running over the cable, we're good. So we're gonna go back up front, we're gonna grab a bottle of Meat Rub. And yeah, all good, our robot's up and operational here. Thanks, William. So I don't know if this is Bonnie or Claude, but now you can see it in operation, making our #1 sales prep mix. It's also used on the racetracks. Prep 14, so it's got a lot of beet pulp in it, a lot of oil. The fat level in this product is 10%. It's our #1 weight gain product. So if you got any horses that are going into any bodybuilding competitions, there it is. This is what you'd call up GNC in order right here. So now you see it grabs and pauses. So that's because it took a measurement to know how tall the pallet was, where to put the next bag. We love our robots, big fans. And they're fun to watch. I've got 4 boys. I think it's their favorite part of coming to visit is to see the robots in operation. All right, so Morgan brought out Mr. Bob's mouth-watering meat rub for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. And that is actually a picture of Mr. Bob. You saw him in his office with a show steer there. We'd have to ask Mr. Bob, but I want to say he won a national show, maybe Chicago with that one. I can't remember. That was before my time, folks. So all right, so we're actually gonna come this way. We're gonna do two things at once. You're gonna watch it kick a pallet out while I'm still talking about the meat rub. So the meat rub's pretty fantastic. The history of Hallway, they say it with food, all right? If they love you, you're gonna eat with us, okay? That's what we do. We go feed farms. Before this year, obviously, we were to go feed farms. We would call those feed-a-farms. We've done it at racetracks. We do lunch and learns. It's always about food and feed. I mean, it just kind of one's connected to the other, I guess. It's all about horse feed and human food. But Mr. Bob's been making this meat rub for many, many, many years. He started out in his kitchen at home, and Miss Bonnie thought, you know what, that's enough of that spice and mess. Out of the house, Mr. Bob. And so he would make it up in his truck. And this was just private use. This wasn't labeled at this point. I promise it's all clean and food safe facilities. So then he started mixing it up out in his truck, and people got to ask him for it and wanting it, and he couldn't make enough. And so now we have it packaged for us. This stuff is absolutely amazing. I use it every time I fire up the big green egg and use the smoker. Sorry, I'm an egg fan. Jared's a pellet grill fan. So we always, it's lump charcoal, but it's also a fed system. So he's not a true, good on the griddle. William's a griddle guy. So we argue about the best way to use it. And the answer is it doesn't do any good in the bottle. You got to put it on the meat. So love our meat rub. You need to try that out. So the mill is always cooked at events, and we're going back to the late 60s, 70s, 80s. They've always cooked for producers and at events, and we've kept that up whenever we educate farms or have them for lunch. We cook. It got to the point where we had to have it packaged in a pretty label, and that's available online as well. Yep.
So 2 questions. How many types of feed do we have?
Whew. How many types of feed? Let's go easy. We're going to say one type. It's all for horses. We make, Jared, that'd be a good one for you. How many do you make on the regular every week?
Normal 2.
We probably make 40 products on the regular every week.
There's a big, 3 to 5 that we make every single day. And then how many recipes do we have? Oh my gosh, 100, 125, 150. So that changes a lot. And another one?
Somebody wants to know about the granola that's coming.
Oh, the granola. The granola is a great one. That's a Miss Julia special. And if you all know Julia Hall, you know it's very special. She has earned the title Chief Snacking Officer for my boys, because if they show up after school, you can bet there's food around here somewhere, and they're going to talk her into making something. She has an apron that says it, so yeah, it's official. So we had an event here, 2015. 2015 was a big year. We had an event here in 2015. We set it with food, and Julia put together her own granola recipe and shared it that day. We got calls back that same day from people that said, hey, great event, appreciate you inviting us, learned a lot. Hey, where do we get that granola? There wasn't anywhere to get it. She made it up in her kitchen and shared it. And so we didn't start right away, but for the last year or so, it's been a big process to get it made in a commercial kitchen, to get it packaged. And we're hoping in the next 30 days, this is in the shop. So go to our shop, sign up for the mailing list if nothing else, and you'll be notified when that granola comes out. It's going to be awesome. Good? Okay. So folks, unless you have another question, I've taken up an hour of your time. People got to tell me to stop. So if you got questions, I'll keep talking, but otherwise, we're going to go ahead and call it. Thank you for watching. Would love to know who your picks are for the Kentucky Derby coming up. I told you who we're feeding, who we own a little piece of. That's very exciting. And I hope you enjoy the Derby. I hope you enjoy horses, horse racing, just all of it, because it's a lot of fun. And now I can't remember who said it. There's nothing so good for the inside of a man as the outside of a horse. Churchill? Roosevelt? Darn, I've lost where it came from. But come out to horse country locations, 30 plus members. I know they're not all open right now, but there's a lot of them open. Go see them. And you can still go out and reach and touch the horses and the stallions, these future Derby winners, past Derby winners. Go check it out. Thanks for joining us today. Loved having you. If you need anything, info@hallwayfeeds.com. Any other questions, we'll get you taken care of. Thanks for coming.